You know, it's kind of wild to think that a law, something written specifically to protect people, can have these massive, even dangerous blind spots. Sometimes just a single word can create a loophole that denies justice to the very people that law was supposed to help. Today, we're diving into one of those cases, a story that forced India's highest court to literally rewrite a law and change what domestic violence means.
So picture this. There's this major law on the books, right? Its entire purpose is to give women a shield, a way to get protection from violence happening inside their own homes.
But here's the twist. What happens if the person causing the harm is another woman? Well, the law, as it was first written, had this fatal flaw. It basically said a woman could only file a complaint against a man. So if her abuser was her mother-in-law or a sister-in-law, she was out of luck. And this wasn't just some hypothetical. For years, this was the reality in India.
All right, so let's dig in. To really get how this happened, you have to look at the exact words in the law itself. Turns out, a couple of simple words created this huge barrier to justice.
And here it is, the culprit, Section 2Q of the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. It defined the respondent, that's the person you can file a case against, as any adult male person. Just those two words, adult male. That meant if a perpetrator was female or even a boy under 18, they were legally invisible under this act.
So this wasn't just some abstract legal problem. It became very, very real for one family who just refused to accept this loophole. And their fight, wow, it would go on for nearly a decade and completely change the course of Indian law.
Meet Kusum Harsora and her mother, Pushpa. Back in 2007, they went to the courts for protection. They alleged domestic violence from their brother and son, yeah, but also from his wife and two sisters. But because of those two little words in Section 2Q, the court said they could only proceed against the brother. The Bombay High Court actually dismissed the case against all the female relatives, basically telling the Harsoras, sorry, this law can't help you with them.
And their fight for justice, you have to admire the sheer persistence here. It all started in 2007. It took 5 whole years just for the High Court to confirm what seemed obvious. The law as written was not on their side. But instead of giving up, they took their fight to the next level in 2013, challenging the very constitutionality of the law itself. It wasn't until 2016 that they got a final answer.
So you see, this whole thing just blew up. It wasn't just about one family anymore. The case had become this fundamental debate. Was this law, which is made to protect women, actually violating their constitutional right to equality? The legal battle really came down to this. On one side, you had the Harsoras arguing that the words adult male were totally arbitrary. Violence is violence, right? It doesn't matter who's doing it. They said it violated their right to equality. But on the other side, the state argued, hey, Parliament chose those words for a reason, and it's not the court's job to go around rewriting laws. To settle this whole thing, the Supreme Court used this classic two-part test for equality. First, they asked, is there a really good, logical reason to separate people into these two groups, adult males versus everyone else? And second, does making that separation actually help the law do its job, which is to protect women? For the law to stand, the answer to both of those questions had to be a yes.
All right, so here we are. After a battle that lasted nearly a decade, the Supreme Court was finally ready to deliver its verdict on the fate of just 2 little words.
The court took a long, hard look at this text, and they recognized that in the real world, domestic violence isn't just carried out by men. Mothers-in-law, sisters-in-law, even minor siblings can be, and often are, the ones committing the abuse or at least helping it happen.
And their reasoning was just crystal clear. They said that if female abusers are just left untouched, the law's protection becomes an illusion. It's not real. It would mean an abuser could just use a female relative to carry out the violence, making the law totally powerless. So that classification, it failed both steps of the constitutional test.
And with that, the Supreme Court did something truly monumental. They didn't just interpret the law, they rewrote it. They literally struck the words adult male right out of Section 2Q. With just 2 words gone, the entire landscape of domestic violence law in India was changed forever.
So, the law is changed. What did that actually mean for people on the ground? Well, the impact was immediate and profound, opening up protections for victims in ways that were just impossible before.
The difference was like night and day. Seriously, think about it. Before 2016, if your abuser was your mother-in-law, nope, this law couldn't help. Sister-in-law, sorry. A 17-year-old son, no. But after this verdict, the answer for all of them became a clear, resounding yes.
The door to justice was finally open to everyone, no matter the age or gender of the person causing the harm.
And the impact didn't stop there. The law became truly gender inclusive. And get this, in a really interesting twist, later court rulings confirmed this change also meant that mothers-in-law who were being abused by their daughters-in-law could now seek protection under the very same act. It created this whole new, more complex balance, forcing courts to protect all victims of domestic violence in a home.
You know, the Harsora case is such a powerful reminder that laws are not perfect. They aren't set in stone. They can have these hidden blind spots created by just a handful of words. It took one family's 9-year fight to expose this flaw and make the law what it was always supposed to be. And it kind of leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What other laws out there have a hidden flaw just waiting for the right case to bring it into the light?